Okay, the monthly meeting of the Port of Siuslaw Commission is called to order at 7 o'clock. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of 20 March 2013. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments? Minutes are approved. Okay, remarks from citizens.
We have 4 this evening, and the first is Jay Nepsey.
Okay, Mr. Nefty, you have 5 minutes. We have
Sit
15
or stand,
minutes
either
total.
one.
Oh, I'll sit down.
Okay.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Nefc,
All right.
Mr. Scott.
Nefc.
Nefc, yes, the way to pronounce my last name. I have with me the newspaper, the Register Guard, and they talk about the very sad situation at the Florence Event Center and how they have found themselves in a difficult financial jam. I would like to address that and say that it would be appropriate for this board to investigate a proper way to assume the event center as part of their jurisdiction. I think that's well within the purview of the port, and I think it should be something that should be done in a respectable way, that sees what the finances are, how it should be done, if it works out properly. I think our administrative abilities are very good and could work to help the citizens of Florence keep their event center open. And by the way, I'm running for Port Commissioner number 5.
We understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And we appreciate your comments.
Yes.
It's very timely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And they are in our jurisdiction. They just aren't our responsibility.
Yeah.
Well, things
They're
change.
within the district, is what I'm saying.
And things change because they're seeing a difficult financial situation, and I believe that this might be a good way of helping out the citizenry of the entire watershed district.
Okay?
All right?
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
Second is Dan, sorry, I can't read the last name. Webb?
Oh, I thought there was a sign-in roster.
Oh, okay. Well, now we know who you are.
Anything on your mind? Thank you.
Okay,
Smacking, Susie.
Terry Duman?
Good day, sir.
Mr. Scott, my name is Terry Duman. I know most of you on here. The reason I'm here this evening, I remember not too long ago when a vacancy occurred on the board, you interviewed 4 or 5 applicants for the position. And when I go back and read through the minutes and I hear Commissioner Green remark that no one in the community had stepped forward to fulfill the position, I was kind of taken back because I had contacted a commissioner and expressed to him that I would be happy to be interviewed for any appointment to the board. And he said he'd take that into consideration. We had a good conversation. 3 weeks later, the appointment was made. And I have no problems with the person they appointed. I know that person personally, and I've expressed that to Mr. Murphy. I just feel the way that it was approached was totally incorrect. Basically, that's about all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Well, we appreciate your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a candidate? I am a candidate.
Good. Thank you. Good.
I have one other question, though. How can a 5-member board appoint a 6th member when it's a 5-member board? I'm in question on how that can happen.
Well, we discussed that the 5th member was out of office before the new member took over or was sworn in, so we never had 6. There were 5 on the board at that time that voted unanimously.
And I just have to say, if it smells like
unanimous vote or not, but
if
no.
it smells like a bad idea, and Commissioner Fleener did vote no, and I realize
yeah, I
that.
remember that now.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
But if it smells like a bad idea, and you have to talk about it, it probably is a bad idea, is my opinion. When the outgoing commissioner makes the motion to appoint his replacement, It's just something there ethically not right. So, thank you for your time.
Next is Dave Twombly.
Hi, I'm Dave Twombly, owner of Central Coast Disposal, and I'm addressing, I'm going to read your mission statement. I'm sure you guys all have it memorized and know it by heart, but it says the Port of Sayso delivers high-quality asset management and economic development services that result in immeasurable economic and community development benefits for the communities throughout the Port District. So, I guess I've been recently informed. I own the local garbage company, not one that's, the check comes to Florence. My office is in Florence. When you call, the receptionist works in Florence. Not suggesting that my competition doesn't have some employees that live here locally, but 100% of all the money that is generated from my garbage service is spent within the port. Well, isn't spent, but is given people that live and reside and pay taxes within the Port District. So I guess what I'm getting at is the same thing would go for banking or a contractor or any other services. Given that price is equal and service is equal, I would hope that the port would recognize that they should always buy within their economic, where they receive their money from. So I guess I'm at a loss as to understand. I understood that that's the way it was. In October or November of 2000, I came, rainy night, different building, Port Commission sat down in front of them because they actually requested I came there, and they made a directive at that meeting and said, we will buy local whenever the price is equal and the service is equal or better. So I don't know why there's been a change. I realize that there's a different port manager now, no offense, Bob, I'm not going there, but I was hoping that this commission would recognize it the same way and say, listen, we need to spend as many dollars, as long as it has no negative impact on us economically, we need to spend as many dollars inside of our tax base as we are going to spend, rather than send them to Texas or to wherever the shareholders are in the rest of the world. So I'm hoping that you can either put it on as a thing for the next meeting, or that you could either address it now and say, yeah, that's the way the Port Commission feels.
Yeah, I think we're going to take it under advisement. We're aware of it,
Okay,
so we have to discuss it a little bit.
perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dave.
That's it. That's all
Okay.
for the comments.
I see that list.
Okay. Next item on the agenda are the financials. Obviously, we're still in the construction business.
Yes, we are.
Well, I
Yes.
separated them out, just so it would be a little bit more obvious what's operational, and, because that's a large dollar amount.
The reason I say that is we have an item here for $446,000, which is a little more than our normal routine operating budget.
Kind of jumps out at you.
Yeah, that's keeping those big cranes sitting down there in the river. Any conversation? Anybody have any questions? I think staff has done a good job of outlining all of the financials. There being none, do I have a motion to approve the bills?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the bills for the month in the amount of $517,925.44.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Old business. First item is the strategic business plan.
Graced with my presence at the day one again.
Good to
Good
see you
evening,
back.
gentlemen. So tonight, I was just making a quick update for you guys all that we are continuing progress on our next 5-year strategic plan. Bob and I have been working on it a bit. We've been working with the state, and our schedule is a little bit tentative, but our hope is at your May meeting to have a draft of your strategic plan for review. And in preparation for that, I have prepared a set of questionnaires, which I think you guys all have in your packet. we put that on our website, on our Facebook page. We've done press releases to media within the district. And I also emailed out that information request to something over 50 stakeholders, community members, customers, tenants,
Great.
et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully we'll get some good feedback from members of the district on what they think we should include in the plan. And that was about all I had to share. If you have any questions, I will entertain them. Otherwise, it was just kind of an update for you.
Okay, I think, it's timely because there's some items on this list that have been brought up lately in our meetings, so it'll give us a chance to address those.
You prefer this in writing?
That would be preferable, yes.
Yep.
Easier to track that way, yes.
Just
Thank
to
you.
clarify.
Thank you.
Cleaner.
Historically, when do we do the strategic planning? In May? June,
No, every
July?
5 years.
Every
So,
5 years?
Yeah.
So-
This current plan actually expires in October.
So why May?
Well,
I just-
it takes a little time to put one of these together, so
This is just a
Weird.
draft preliminary input.
yeah, we actually started it last year, as you recall.
Mhm.
So
So the purpose of this strategic plan is to continue to fine tune it, to put sideboards on, to direct our attention, to optimize? What exactly are we trying to do here?
we have a strategic plan, yes, to keep the port focused, to
Mhm.
keep us on track for projects that we want to do. We have further incentive because the state of Oregon now requires all port districts to have a strategic plan that meets their criteria in
Mhm.
place.
Mhm.
So, and our current plan is very close to that because it was created in 2008, which was about the time that the state was putting in their criteria, but this new one will, of course, be in full compliance.
And of course, you indicated that stakeholders' input would be great. I like to define what a stakeholder is. Are they citizens, or are they agencies, or are they government bodies, or is it all inclusive?
All of the above.
So a stakeholder could be a citizen in Triangle Lake or Mapleton, and they would be able to input
Certainly.
into the forums here.
Sure,
Yep.
throughout the entire
Yep.
734 square miles of our district down to Lorraine, and
King
King Estates.
States, I
Including
think, is
King
the
State, yeah.
furthest.
That's far.
And the reason why I'm asking this is for the benefit of the viewers as to
absolutely.
what is it that they can do?
Mhm.
And again, it's a matter up to the citizens of the port to let us know what it is their desires are, their intentions, their aspirations. And we as the board are here to try to bring that to an effective conclusion. And that's part of the strategic planning, is the outreach,
Certainly.
And working with the state.
working with the state.
Yeah, most importantly, it's required by law. I mean, not only do we need it, but it is required by law, so.
Are there any new requirements since our meeting last June?
No, it's the same as what we went over last year.
What can we expect in May? What are we going to be looking at next meeting?
A draft of the entire strategic plan if things go as planned.
And then will we approve it at that time?
No, that will be a draft for your review and for, again, stakeholder public review. And then at the following meeting, assuming that we stay on track, then it would be up for adoption.
I
by the
would
board.
just guess one of the things we should plan on is having a retreat like we did a year ago or whenever to discuss this
Sure.
as a board.
Yeah.
Because I think once we get the input in and we sort of get it in a finalized,
Yeah, we're
Forum.
hoping to get more input than we have in the past.
yeah, which has been a little, and Susie, this is good. I mean, you've got a lot of pertinent information on this,
Yeah.
so.
Those
it'd be good to
questions are-
Get that in there.
Those questions are drawn in large part from the state's requirements, so that's why some
Yeah.
of the questions are a little specific. That's the sort of input they're looking for.
And Susie and I have been working with the state, with Dave
The Harlan?
Harland, working with them to, they really prefer that you, remember we've talked about outsourcing this and spending $40,000 for a consultant to do it. And we've talked to Dave, because of some political pressures that they've had and some of the less than optimal strategic plans from other ports. The state is really pushing it. Susie and I have talked to him and said really no. We'll work with you on some maybe happy medium, but we're quite qualified to create our own and follow through with our own strategic plan. It's not like it's certainly not new to me, and certainly not new to Susie. So they've agreed to some happy medium. He'll get back to us next week to see what that happy medium is.
Mr. Flinner?
So the state wants us to hire a professional agency at a fairly considerable price
Yes.
in order to legitimize our strategic planning process. And what we've asked the state to do was allow us to submit the plan based upon the fact that we are capable of doing that. What is the downside? Are they going to take a look at our strategic plan relative to the other ports' strategic plans and say, well, you didn't hire a professional organization, therefore we're not going to take you as seriously?
Well, no. Well, you can't look into people's minds, obviously. But what we're doing is, because we follow the word of law so close, and they would be hard pressed to ever come up with that argument. But what we will do, and what we've agreed to do, so we'll see if when Dave comes back next week, he'll be able to tell us, yay or nay on it, is we are more than willing to go out and get the expertise of engineers and things for the projects that need engineers and that sort of thing. But we certainly don't need anybody to sit and tell us how to plan that event. And it's, I think what it is, quite honestly, and I got from Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but I got from Dave's conversation that what they're looking for is consistency in what they're looking at. He gave us some examples, read us a few examples without telling us who they were, that read more like a novel or poetry rather than a business plan. And so they're really, the political side of it is really pressing to get, when they take these plans in front of legislation, or they need to get money to help out a project and it reads like a, 8th grade paper, then it's obviously difficult for them to get that money for it and support the port. So I can see part of their point.
I fully understand the hesitancy to spend the money on a consultant or expert to rubber stamp our plan. At the same time, I don't want to be penny wise and dollar foolish with a 5-year plan that might represent millions of dollars. Had we put $20,000 or $30,000 into a neon letterhead that was attached to our strategic plan. So that's what I'm debating in my head, is how much is this going to be worth, that neon letterhead, from an engineer or whatever?
Oh, the engineer is fine. We're going to engineers. What I'm saying is we're not going to a consultant to put together a strategic plan. We will go to the engineers. We'll go to any kind of technical structure required.
I don't see any need on the front end to spend a lot of money till we get some drafts, because if we get enough citizen input and we decide to go in a little bit different direction, we're going to have to rewrite that draft. But I think when we get it said and done, we might want to have it reviewed, be sure that everything we want to do is under 777, we can legally do it, and we have all the criteria to meet that. Have somebody review our final document, maybe.
I think that's a good point. I was thinking the same thing. We get a little further down the road, we get it pretty well consolidated, and where we want to be, we could have Dave and
well,
some of the
Dave is,
people
like I
review
said,
it.
Dave's going to tell us next week what he thinks of the plan in general. So, I mean, it's...
We have several different opportunities here. Do we put together a strategic plan that basically goes after grant money? Or do we put together a strategic plan that fits in with our particular needs, if you will? And I noticed that a lot of government agencies, particularly special districts, tend to go after grant money and don't really have a particular purpose or focus. And then they get spread all over. So I hope that we can focus our intention on what it is that we want to do in our strategic plan, have it legitimate, have it verified, and continue to focus instead of going after whatever grant money is available.
I think there's pretty much a consensus that we're going to have to be self-sustaining
Absolutely.
because the grant pool is drying up rapidly with sequestration and another number of issues. And I think, we're
As I've told
consenting
you,
adults.
as
I
I've
think
told
we
you
can
in
put
the
together
past,
our own deal.
I'm not fond of the indebtedness that we have currently.
Mhm.
So you will not find me going after grants simply for going after grants,
Right.
especially when we have to come up with matching or portions of that. So, no, we're not gonna be increasing our indebtedness without some sort of payback.
I think almost all governmental agencies are in exactly that same
Yeah,
position right
absolutely.
now. There's no such thing as free money, and now we're all figuring it out. Because there's just too many hooks involved.
Yep.
Okay,
Go forth.
any other items under
Thanks,
old
Susie.
business?
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you, Susie.
You're welcome.
Good job.
Just talked to Chief John Buchanan today,
Oh, good.
and he is doing well. Might be up here the end of the first week in May. Thinks he's got a clean bill of health going right now, and spirits were high.
Two thumbs up, that's
Good.
great to hear. Good
That's
man.
really good. He's feeling ill, and he was one of those that kind of held out and didn't raise his hand earlier, perhaps. Okay, under new business, the first item is appoint new budget committee members. Yeah,
Do we have a list of those people? Because I don't have that on my agenda.
No, staff, Susie sent out an email asking for input. We had a list of interested people. Staff, basically we just narrowed down, since we didn't get any further input from the commissioners, we narrowed it down to Rick Cox and Carla Holloway.
Could you describe the process by which you narrowed them down, and also talk about the qualifications for each, since maybe some of our viewers and audience may not know them?
well, I can probably take a couple of them right off the top. Rick has been on, I believe, the budget committee. I know he's been on the budget committee on a couple other things. So he's on the hospital board, and he's on the budget committee for the fire department. He's been on the architectural committee for the port for a number of years, and he's pretty well known in town. And Carla Holloway is a CPA who owns an accounting firm who is already doing some of our work here. So the job of overseeing our budget process or being a member isn't going to strain her talents too much. And besides, they're available. They volunteered when we called them. So,
Were there other applicants,
There were no applicants.
or just interested parties?
All I know is there was a list.
Susie?
Sorry.
Sorry.
I think it's important for
Sure.
the public to understand how the process came to be, because obviously this is an important appointment, and we need to know how this is actually working.
It is an important appointment, and as you may recall, last year we actually operated with an understaffed budget committee because we could not find enough interested members of the public to serve on that committee. This year we ended up with 2 openings, and we solicited suggestions from the commission on possible candidates. We looked at that list. We looked at the various skills and talents that those individuals might bring. For instance, Carla with the CPA skill set we thought would be a valuable addition. We contacted actually 3 people, and at the end of talking to those 3 people, we had 2 candidates who were viable and willing to serve. So we stopped there.
Could you summarize who the citizen volunteers are currently who will serve again for this coming year's budget committee?
The returning 3 Citizen Budget Committee members are Brian Mill, who is in our audience today.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Brian Mill,
Thank you.
who is in our audience today.
Raise your hand, please.
Mm,
Oh, there he is.
Wesley Bott from up Nicholson Way. You're gonna put me on the spot, Bill, for who's that other
I can grab the file if you'd like. It's in the office.
It's okay.
Okay.
So we have 3 returning budget committee members. We have 2 new ones. The commissioners were asked to submit possible appointees. Commissioners did do that. They came to the administration. The administration then selected through the list and found 2 that they thought were qualified. So that's how we got to where we are today.
We're qualified and willing to serve. Yes,
And
that's
willing to
the
serve.
important part.
Willing to.
Is
Just
always the
because,
hard part.
yeah,
So
you
we
guys
ended up with
suggested it,
two that were qualified and willing to serve. Okay,
Yes.
very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good job.
Okay. Everybody satisfied?
Make a motion that we appoint Rick Cox and Carla Holloway to the Budget Committee.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to appoint the two new members of the Budget Committee. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Talk tonight. Any other new business? Okay. Reports. Well, maybe it's under new business. I've got a little bit of an issue. In the last meeting, there was some phone transmissions that took place, and I think we need to address that's pretty irregular in a meeting like this to be using phones during the meeting. And also, I think if you're texting, it could potentially be a public record. So I would suggest that we don't do that in the future, unless you want to lose your phones to the public entities and the legal beagles. Any discussion? No phones?
I think
Okay.
this treads upon First Amendment rights. I think that's up to the elected commissioner to make that decision.
Any discussion on this?
What are we trying to do here? Pass a resolution?
Well, it's
Pass
kind-
a censorship? What are you trying to do here?
I'm
Mr.
trying to
Scott?
say we don't use any phones in the meetings.
What about emergency phones that Mr.
I think
Buchanan
we
uses?
will make an exception for
Oh,
that.
I see, so we make exceptions.
Yeah,
How
we
do we
will.
do that? On the fly?
Want to make a resolution?
It's up to you. I'm not gonna support it.
Okay, well, it wouldn't be out of the ordinary. What do you guys think? I mean, we can't, it's,
I have a problem
it's
with
a
anybody
procedural
using
issue.
a phone or texting, because this is supposed to be an open meeting. Everything is supposed to be heard and taped and et cetera, so everybody knows and everybody understands. No matter what the intention is, the perception that something is going on outside the meeting that should have been brought up or spoken or said in the meeting, and it isn't, it's being hidden. And for that reason and that reason alone, I would support a motion that we not use phones
yeah, I mean, that's pretty
or other
standard,
forms of.
that's pretty standard.
It is
In all
standard.
meetings.
I've never heard of that before in my elected life.
Well, you probably, I can't answer that, Bill.
Mr. Chair, what if someone were to call and indicate that one of your sons or daughters were injured in an automobile accident?
And you know, what I would do is probably raise my finger and say, may I be excused to take an important phone call?
But you just violated the resolution that you received a phone call. I mean, where do you stop this?
You could be questioned about it when you came back, or the reason for it, or the purpose, and whoever took the call could tell everybody what it was, and everybody would understand that this was not court business, but it was totally personal business.
I think you're treading on a very delicate
I'm sure
bill
you
and
Did you guys read
First
the-
Amendment rights.
Article in the paper, the judge who banned all the phones in his courtroom, and he got a new phone and forgot to shut it off, and it went off in court, and he fined himself contempt of court himself personally, and I think, you know, I mean, it was good enough for him, and I would think it's good enough for us. Besides, it's just kind of rude to have your phones on, and it's pretty seldom that you have an emergency that's that critical. I mean, I'm against it, because I think we have to have a rule that there's no phones.
I'm on both sides. I would like to do a little research before we make a motion to do anything like that, to be sure it's legal, number one. And number two, find out that any communication by text, email, or phone conversation during our meeting of a commissioner, if that is public record.
Bob, that sounds like a good thing for Mr. Wolf.
Good luck. That is a very slippery slope.
Okay.
All right, find out.
But there's ORSs that deal with it.
Not necessarily.
We can't be the only body that has this question come up.
No, I wouldn't think so.
I would check with SDO before you go down that path.
SDAO.
Yeah, Special Districts Association of Oregon.
Sure.
Okay, good idea.
We'll check it out.
Okay. I don't, I think I don't have anything to,
New business, do you want to talk about the trash issue and understand it, or do you want to do that later?
I think this should come before the public next meeting. I mean, this
Okay.
was just brought to us. And we
So
probably,
you have some sort of understanding of
Yes.
what it is?
a
Information
historical-
gathering.
Yes.
Mhm.
I've never heard of this before, and it would be difficult for me to make any kind of decision without some historical.
Well, none of us were
reference.
here then, I think.
And
when
we
that
have
was-
no, we have no documentation of what was agreed to.
If you check your emails, you will.
But still, I mean, none of us,
Don't check them right now, though.
none
Don't
of
check
us,
it now.
none of us were involved in that decision
Oh, no,
at
understand.
the time.
Oh,
And
I sent you some history.
I think we need to review that.
Okay.
Anything else under new business? Any other reports from any of the commissioners?
Well, I would like to request that any item under new business be put into the agenda so that commissioners are not blindsided by possible action. I think that the discussion that we just had was inappropriate, should have been agended, should have been thought through before it became part of the public record.
Okay. Thank you for your input. Bob, do you have anything to report? Go through your punch list.
Oh, we got all sorts of things. You get my continue list of completed projects and list of new projects and things that are going on. Kent, want to come up and talk about your boat show?
Well, it's his boat show now.
Have a little flyer on it.
I gave it.
That's right.
Very good.
Did you get us a?
Outstanding.
A brief overview. We started out the week with eight participating local businesses and nonprofits. We ended up the week with 34 local businesses and nonprofits. We have 22 advertisers, 12 vendors, and a premier sponsor thanks to Three Rivers Casino. Right now, we're showing pretty good as far as financial wise. We've got some people that still have payments due to come in. It looks like it's going to be a fairly successful show.
Great.
The thing that Ken's not bringing up is that we've done almost all of this in-house. We've done it with the local merchants through Chamber, their distribution lists. Ken has brought together about $1,625 worth of monies coming in from different advertisers, vendors, that sort of thing. And the show's going to cost us about $750. So we're kind of like in the black before the door opens. So should nobody show up, we still made money.
Oh, okay.
So, and we'll get into bigger and better advertising as we go, because we haven't even, we've got all the artwork and stuff is ready to go. We just haven't, it's too early to generate too much or people will forget it, you know. So that's the typical flyer. We've got posters. Ken's done a marvelous job at pulling all this together and keeping track of everything. And so with Bob's basic idea of the in-water boat show and what Ken's done, I think it should turn out fairly well. We've also had merchants come in that, as a chamber member, I took over the responsibility of the pyrotechnics for the 4th of July. The chamber has, obviously, like every year, has financial issues, and so we're going to go out and raise money to help offset some of the cost of the pyrotechnics, the fireworks. At this boat show, several community members have already jumped in and said they'll we'll let them use the pavilion, they'll put on a barbecue with all the funds going to the 4th of July fireworks. Rental, we've got, we asked if anybody had anything to raffle off to gain money for the fireworks, and we've had the Chinook tours.
Land of Chinook tours.
Land of Chinook Tours immediately gave us a boat tour on the river for 6 people. Kelly's Cantina gave us immediately free hors d'oeuvres for 6 people.
River House.
What is it?
River House.
River House gave us overnight stay for 2 people. So people are jumping in, and the community's jumping in already, and we haven't even started really advertising as such. So it should be a pretty decent event, and some of it will actually help raise money for other things. So.
Great job.
Yeah.
You organized this superbly.
I would like to concur. We had this discussion a couple of days ago, and we talked about whether this was net or gross receipts from the gazebo.
Oh, haven't heard back yet.
Okay. There's a big difference.
Oh, sure.
Speaking of 4th of July, Bob, do we have a place to float
Not yet.
fireworks?
Not yet. Not
Could
positive.
be problematic.
It could be
We
problematic.
do it at low tide.
Well, I think the best second option, should the barge go away, if you will, would be our dredge spoils. Firing them off from the dredge spoils rather than from the water. If the barge goes away, you pretty much are limited to where these pyrotechnics can be set off.
Can you expand upon this change? Because I haven't
okay.
heard about this.
HDB, is that correct? Marine is pulling out of this facility. HDB is the one that has donated the use of the barge to set off the pyrotechnics every year. They're selling off their equipment as we speak. We have 1 or more community members that are working to buy different pieces of equipment. One of those would be the barge, and we could continue to use it. If that doesn't work, then we're in a situation to where we're going to have to move where those can be fired from. I mean, if you've not been, I used to be in that part-time line of work with my dad, and when you fire these things off, you're in a war zone. This is not something that you set up. These mortar tubes are huge. You're on fire all the time as you're setting them off, so it's not something you can do in the middle of town.
People have to be certified or licensed?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So-
A lot of use of black powder and knowledge of that sort of thing. So yes, it takes a while.
Perhaps by chance, if Legacy is still here, we might be able to use their barge.
That is the same barge.
It's the same barge.
It's the same barge. They're borrowing it or renting it from HDB. So yeah,
The answer is no.
and you
If
see
they
this,
happen to be here.
yeah, that's right. So you've seen the size of that thing. I can't imagine how they would move it, but so I would think it would be more cost effective to keep it here, and hopefully we can keep it on the river somewhere, in the hands of the local community anyway.
Speaking of that, what's our update on the wharf project?
Let's get done with him first. So.
Oh, okay.
You done?
Yep, I'm
Any
done.
more questions for him? Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent job.
The wharf project, never-ending battle. They are not done. They're not close to being done. What is happening is as the construction happens, they're uncovering more and more that our engineering company didn't uncover or didn't engineer. And so it's causing change orders, it's causing different types of construction to happen, some of the construction in it. So when you're dealing with steel and customized steel, anytime there's a new twist to something, now you've got to go back, get the steel ordered, get it, built.
Fabricated.
It's got to be fabricated. It's got to be. It takes weeks and weeks to get it
Galvanization, the
done.
whole
Oh
thing.
yeah, it's not an easy task. And Ken, did I see new I-beams in the parking lot? So are those the ones we've been waiting for, do you
No,
think? It's
those
different
won't
ones?
be delivered till the first part of next week.
Okay. So, yeah, we're working, I had a conversation with the owner of Legacy, and there is a portion that might be their issue, but the biggest issue I see is the coordination between the engineering group and the construction crews and the construction company. So I've been obviously talking with both sides of this issue. They will be here during roadie days. I have told them that they can't be here in the parking lots, they can't be, but what they believe they'll be doing at that point is all under the pier anyway. So they don't believe, the cranes won't be here, the forklifts won't be here, none of that will be here.
So they'd be able to clean off Mo's parking area and get that all
Yes.
cleaned off?
Oh, yeah, and it's clean now, pretty
Is it?
much, yeah. They come in early morning and put their trucks in there so they can still get access, but it looks really good. So no, should be not a problem for the parking and things. And like I said, most everything will be shimming and finish welding, and then there's a process that they do on the welds that they do hand galvanization for those welds and things. So most of it by that time is going to be dress up, should be under the piers and stuff. The problem that we have is that the carnival comes in on the 13th. So it sets up a whole week before, and so they're gonna have to scramble about, there's nothing in that Nopal parking lot come the 13th because that carnival takes up the whole thing. So they're gonna have to scramble to get the big equipment out. So they have the dates, they have the times, and we're working with them on it, so we shall see.
How's the indicator doing with all the changes? Where are we gonna end up money-wise?
Well, we were gonna ask you for a loan. No, we're doing fine. We're still,
There were 2 more change orders, but they were very small.
very, very small. And about 6 weeks ago, I picked up the phone and called both of them and said, reminded them of their contract. And, you weren't here, about $86,000 of the dollar amount that is overrun was because of NIMS and some of the requirements that we had to do by pulling old pile out from under there. So that's about but we're still in good, and they understand. We negotiated away $49,000 when they turned in one of the expanded one about 2 months ago, and I said, no, you don't need to do that. We went through it, and we brought it down from, it was like 102, we brought it down to 51 or something, $1,000 of different engineering items.
Bob, you indicated that we're nowhere close to finishing. That makes me a little nervous.
We're about, what is it? They should be done by the 18th of May, so we're about 4 weeks. To me, that's nowhere close.
Probably on their total workload, they're probably 95% done. It's probably the last 5 that's sticky, isn't it?
Well, it's all of there's one large beam to go in that they didn't plan on, and under the is it the driveway of ICM?
The
Access.
Access right between Lowe's and ICM.
Okay, that, where the ice machine used to be, that driveway up there.
That
And then the
drive
rest
into
of it is caps and welding and shimming and, so.
So when you say nowhere close, it has to do with time,
Time.
not money?
Not money. Oh,
But time is money.
no, they have been addressed about the money.
Okay. They understand that. We
They
have
understand
no more.
they understand that they're working on their dime at this point.
Mhm.
Right, so,
They're working into their profits.
yeah. The last two change orders, one was like $2,600 and one was like $3,000 and some dollars. It's not the $40,000 and $50,000.
Like I say, the campground sure looks good. Spring is here, everything's planted, kind of cleaned up, and
Yeah, we just paint that dirt green and mix it.
get rid of the sandburrs.
That's right.
Pools and squirrels.
Yes, and Susie's been working on the bulkhead. We've made some staff changes. We've brought in Lisa Owens. And Lisa is come in to assist in more of the administrative needs that we have. We're moving Carrie Martin out to the campgrounds. She's always wanted to be in the gardens, if you
Outdoor
will.
arena.
Yep, and so we're, she's been trained on the equipment, and she's going out to be our landscape, which will take away some of the maintenance from the guys, put her in a situation that she enjoys. Lisa comes in to offset the loss of Carrie and to support the three of us as we need so much in here as we get into these projects that have to be tracked so greatly. So.
Well, and that's supposed to be a good salmon year too this year, so we may get a
So
home
I heard
run,
on
because
the
our
radio,
attendance, our
fishing was
occupancy has been up very well, very good, very well.
Well, that's the good news, bad news thing. When Ken and I chose the date for the boat show, we did it off of history of that there was very few recreational boats here and very few people in the campground. And ever since we've done that, the campground attendance has increased dramatically. We weren't counting on that many people being here. So there's a good and a bad news side of that, but we'll deal with it. I'd much rather have the people here.
Status on the commercial property. I saw something about there were several, at least 2 interested
Oh, yes.
parties now.
3 actually. We have a meeting set up with a adjoining company that is working on a deal that would like to expand into our property. That'll come next week. The Coast Guard is coming here April 23rd to talk about possibly the possibility of moving their operation to the 40 acres, the southern part of our 40 acres in the Pacific View Industrial Park, and also moving some of their operations to here in the port. As you know, the military, when they look at stuff, they look at least invasive, least expensive, then moderate, and then ultimate. And we have been talking with the people in Oakland on their project, the Coast Guard project teams, and they're finally serious enough that they're coming up for a tour of the town and to actually look and feel the properties that we are talking about, the areas that they have to deal with. Because you got to remember they're from Oakland, so when I say that we're only 3 miles, from this port to your operation, that's 45 minutes in their time if they're going through Oakland, or an hour. It's like no. You're a matter of minutes from one place to the other.
Right.
So they're coming up so they can actually see what we're talking about, look at the river, see how it's built, and then hopefully, or not hopefully, we've been told that in July, the first week of July budget period for the Lincoln PUD, that they would like to start conversations on purchasing of 10 acres in that area, in our, 39.87 or whatever it is that we have. So we have 3 different possibilities, but we have interest. The more interest, seems like, the
More
more
than we've
interest
had
you
in
have,
5
the more,
years, really, since this whole
absolutely.
thing crashed.
So, coming along real well.
As a FYI, I've heard from several citizens along the rhododendron
Yes.
that if the port has an opportunity to install a alternate route for the garbage haulers, so they do not have to go down rhododendron, that they actually go down Kingwood, it would certainly be in the better interest of public safety in the community if we could do that, just as an FYI.
Yeah, no, I grant you that. Absolutely. It would be probably much better drive for them as well. Than trying to beat up down that little street sometimes. The potholes get bigger and bigger.
And then
as
they're
you go.
putting an extension for hikers and
Yes.
bikers, and they have these big garbage hauling trucks going down that road. I think that'd be,
No,
yeah.
I agree with you. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, my first thought would be county landfill, county road, so maybe that'd be a good place to start. You got some buddies over there, you can talk to them.
Yeah, it's
Because, not too sure we want to run garbage trucks down our business park, but we could be open for discussion.
That's correct.
Cheaper to run on city streets where the city's out instead of county.
Okay, any other business? There
being no further business,
Executive session.
we will close the regular meeting and go into executive session, and I don't have,
And reserve the right to come back to public.
I will, but I don't have my sheet. The reserve, the ORS sheet.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
160, 192.
Regular meeting of the Port of Siuslaw is reopened at 8:33. And I guess our first topic of conversation,
Is, I would like the approval of the board to take to Mayor Nola Xavier and City Manager Jackie Betts the possibility of holding, take to them and ask for conversations with them about the possibility of the Port of Siuslaw taking over the port, or the FEC, Florence Event Center, and the Port Airport, or the Florence Airport, and make them part of the port property. Those conversations would simply lead us to many determinations. It doesn't mean that we'll be able to do it, whether they're willing to do it, but I think that it's appropriate that the port assist and try to help the city and the community to retain and to enhance both of these properties. And I think we have the abilities, the know-how, and the management to do such a thing. And I think that we're probably a little better equipped at the entrepreneurial level than the city might be as a municipality. And so I'd just like your permission of the board to at least address those two people and see if they're willing to talk to us about it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we allow Mr. Forsyth to talk to the city of Florence about the possibility of the port looking into the FEC and the airport to be run by the Port of Siuslaw.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Good
you.
idea. Do you want me to go with you?
Yes.
Okay, tomorrow? Good.
Yep,
Call
I'll get
for-
a hold of him. I'll call you after I find a time. I have to
Tomorrow's
get
a
hold of
good
them.
day, Friday's a little bit iffy,
Yeah,
but,
okay.
but tomorrow or Monday or something.
I'll give
but,
Nola and Jackie a call first thing in the morning.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay, any other? Okay, so you were gonna check on the phone issue with John Wolf, and you
Yes.
were gonna check, what was else, was the other?
I have the. Oh, no. Oh, I'm gonna set up, I need to send to you detailed information regarding trash hauling and that sort of thing.
That's
and
right,
What
to
that,
see
what the topic
what
is.
the,
and
what
whatever.
the legalities of that are, because
Exactly.
that, you and I have talked about using public money tied up like that, and that's,
Yeah.
I think that's.
I don't
probably the way we
believe
should do
that any one vendor of goods or services should be, have a monopoly on the use of public funds to tie up business simply because they live in our city.
Does the amount of our yearly garbage bill come under that we would need to go out for an RFP dollar-wise?
We don't know. I think it does. However, just like the city, there's only two, and the city doesn't go out to bid. They simply use both.
Yeah, and it's negotiated, there's a common
Yeah.
fee, isn't there?
Oh, the price is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my point was this vendor has had it for 13 years and nobody's, alls I did, how we found out about it is all I did is said, let's change, give 30 days notice, because I'm used to using public funds by changing every 3 or 4 years to a different vendor, especially if there's no difference in price or service. And when we did, that's when we found out that evidently the council 13 years ago said something about only using this particular vendor. And their service is good, their pricing's the same. I don't have a problem with it. I just think public monies needs to be all public and not just to one particular vendor.
Okay.
So I'll get you all that
All right,
information.
any other business?
I'm done.
Regular meeting is adjourned at 8:37.
Can I make a phone call now?
Please use your phone. Please use your phone.